You want to make sure that if you're going into battle, you have the proper protection. And maybe you've got the heart, but you're wondering, why do I feel so beat up, burnt out, behind? You just have this internal feeling about you. Well, if that's you today, you just wonder, what is going on? Why am I not hitting my goals? Why am I not achieving what I set out to achieve? It may just be your armor. All right, welcome back to the Conqueror's Way. Today I want to tell you a story about when I was in high school, actually. There was this guy on the team, and he was a spitfire, incredibly talented, really fast. And this gentleman, I mean, he was one of those kids that he had the heart, he had the hunger, and the hustle. In fact, he was one of those kids that kind of studied the playbook like his life and future depended on it, because quite frankly, it probably did. I don't know that he was all that academically smart. He was an incredibly talented football player. I remember it must have been the second practice of the season. I can't exactly pinpoint when it was, but I think it was the second practice of the season. And this gentleman, he forgot his helmet to practice. Yeah, he showed up to practice and he didn't have his helmet. Well, the coach made him sit out the entire practice. I don't think it was a punishment as much as he was trying to teach him a lesson. Maybe those are the same thing. I don't know. But lo and behold, he sits out and the coach says, son, I see your fire, but out here, fire without armor will get you hurt. Potentially without, you can have protection all day long, but protection is potential without liability isn't protection, right? So if you have potential, but you don't have your protection, it's just a liability for you. And so he made him sit out all day. And right before practice ended, Coach looked him right in the eyes and he said these words will carry with me forever. He said, remember, you earn a spot on this team. And that stuck with me. You earn a spot on that. Now, this kid was good. He was really good, but you earn a spot on this team. Why would he say to one of the most talented kids that I played football with, and I played football for a long time growing up, why would he say to that kid, you earn a spot on this team? It lingered with me. That boy never forgot his helmet again. I'm going to tell you right now, he never forgot that helmet again. See, competent players, they remember their armor. They remember their armor. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today, because some of us, we're running hard at life. We're running hard, we're leasing, we're in leadership, and we're doing it, but we're doing it without structure. And so doing it without structure is like doing it without your armor. You want to make sure that if you're going into battle, you have the proper protection. And maybe you've got the heart, but you're wondering, why do I feel so beat up, burnt out, behind? You just have this internal feeling about you. Well, if that's you today, you just wonder, what is going on? Why am I not hitting my goals? Why am I not achieving what I set out to achieve? It may just be your armor. See, you don't show up to the battlefield without your armor. And a conqueror builds their daily rhythms, their CRM habits, their scripts, and their follow-up systems. That's their armor. That's their armor. We're going to talk all about that today. I'm going to help you by just opening up what it might be like if you sat next to me for a day. When I first started in leasing, as I continued to grow, I built these daily habits, these rituals, these routines. They're here, and I'm going to share them with you. I'm going to open up the inside playbook today to teach you what that armor looks like, what that system looks like, because when you're trying to understand the weapons of a conqueror, which is the entire series we're talking about over the next couple of weeks, the weapons of a conqueror, the first weapon they have is really this defense of an armor. And so this armor is the systems. And this armor with systems, if you look at it at its core, it really comes down to competence. Competence. Okay, I'm going to say that again, just so you can understand it from a different perspective. The systems, the weapons, the armor of a conqueror is competence. Because you can take the best conqueror, give him the worst weapons, but with competence, he can still take over the land that he's trying to conquer. That's what makes him a conqueror. Conquerors conquer. And so if you want to be a conqueror, I'm going to give you some amazing weapons today, but realize it's how you use these weapons that really ultimately how you wear this armor, how do you utilize this in battle to protect yourself. You doing these things, you utilizing these systems, that's what's going to drive your overall success. So let's talk about competence for a second. Competence. Let me ask you a question. In the context of influencing people, okay? You want to influence another person. What's more important, relationships or competence? It's a tough question. If you sit there and think about it, well, you really can't influence somebody if you don't have a relationship, but you're really not going to influence them if you don't have competence. So which one is it? There's a couple of myths that I'm going to help you bust about competence before we even get into these systems today, okay? And as I bust each one of these myths, I want you to think to yourself, not, I already know that. I'm sure you already know these things. This is the stuff that I'm going to teach today is not something that you probably don't already know other than the checklist of the system I'm going to walk you through. You probably know a lot of these myths of competence, but I want you to ask yourself, do I do that? Is that me? How well do I do these things, okay? And remember, back to the growth audit. Remember in episode 1 where we talked about this concept of the growth audit and we looked at revenue, then we looked at rhythm, and then we looked at relationships? Well, today's show, I'm backing this up into the rhythms. I'm assuming that you are making connections and you're going out there and making contacts. So I have to put all this in context before I get into these rhythms and these myths, okay? So I just wanted to set the stage. Competence. Myth number 1. Competence equals knowing all the answers. It couldn't be further from the truth. The truth is, real competence isn't about having all of the answers. It's really about asking the right questions and adapting quickly. And so, how well do you ask the right questions? How well do you adapt quickly? How about myth number 2? Competence is a fixed trait. Now, that's not necessarily true. You know that, right? Competence isn't something you have or don't have. It's something that you build over time. It's shaped by feedback and practice and experience. Believing it's fixed, that's really somebody that's a little insecure, that doesn't believe they can get to the next level. All right, myth number 3. If you're competent, you don't need help. I'm going to tell you right now, I personally believe, and you can check my credibility, you can test me out, see if we lease fast for you. Go to red-maples.com, check me out, see if we lease fast for you, okay? I believe I'm relatively competent at leasing, but it doesn't mean that I don't have people on my team that help lease property as well. And so competent doesn't mean I'm the one. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. Competence means understanding and knowing how to put a system in place in order to help you hit and achieve the goals that you're trying to achieve. If anybody drives my system, they're going to make more money than if they don't drive the system. So I encourage you, drive the system. Learn the system I'm about to share with you. Understand what makes competence, which we're going to talk about. Understand what makes you competent, and then go and execute on these things. And the output will be phenomenal for you. In fact, if you want a copy of this list, it's totally okay. The things we go through today, if you want a copy of this, I'm going to frame it before the whole show. I'll tell you again at the end. All you got to do is reach out to me, DM me online, or just put it in the comments that you want a copy of the list. I will have myself or my team will reach out to you. We will get you a copy of this list, this armor that you can use. All right, so competence. What is competence? Because I've talked a lot about it, but I haven't told you what it is. Competence is really completion plus excellence. So how competent are you? You know, you're not just finishing tasks. You're finishing tasks with precision, consistency, influence. Competence in leasing means that you follow through, you follow up, and you follow systems, okay? You follow through, follow up, and follow systems. I'll tell you a quick story so that you can understand this. When I was younger, I played the piano and drums. So I could play both. I played the piano and drums. It wasn't that I started learning to read sheet music until I was at the end of high school, okay? But I could sit down and play songs on the piano. I said I played them by ear, but really I just played them by picking up and starting to play. For some reason, I could complete a complete song. It was amazing, the talent that I felt blessed with. Same thing with drums. I could sit down at the drums and play rhythms, but I didn't get any better. I could get to the point where I could play a song. I don't know how great it was, but I could do it. I could get through it. That's completion with competence. Excellence is when I started to read sheet music. Now I could improve my skill, learning when was the right time to play the note and how loud to play the note and how many times to play that note in a sequence and what all of the notes are that are supposed to be played on the piano or in the rhythm, learning to play a syncopated rhythm versus learning to just play a rock-based rhythm. These things helped improve my competence with the musical instrument. The same is true with your leasing process. You can get a lot of leases shoved in, but if you're doing it the wrong way and you don't have the armor and the systems to protect yourself, well, then you did a whole bunch of leases, but you're going to have a whole lot of problems down the road. It's not competent leasing. The same is true as if you can't get them leased. So how do you lease? How do you get these things to happen? How do you sell more? How do you influence people more? How do you influence your team with competence? You do it by understanding how you get there. With skills, character, and intentionality. Your skills, your character, and your intentionality. You can improve your completion rate with something by improving your skill for which to complete it. Okay? Being productive is a skill. I'm not going to deny that. The fact that you've got 30, 40, 50 applications that you get through and your ability to do so, that's competent. But it's only part of the equation. You can have character in doing completion. You can do it really, really well and do it consistently, and that's the character in which you do it. And you can be very intentional in your completing, but it doesn't mean you did it with excellence. The same is true. You can improve your skill with excellence. You can improve your character with excellence, and you can improve your intentionality around excellence. You can be intentionally more excellent in every single thing that you do. So let's talk about this rhythm, this armor in motion. I want to talk about the checklist. So what do I do? How does a day look like for Nathan? If you were to be next to me for a day and to see the productivity that's going out, here's what you might see. Number one, I'd wake up and I'd do about an hour walk. I know that movement, it really creates clarity for me. And so I do an hour walk. I clear my mind. Sometimes I listen to an audible book, but not always. Sometimes it's just me, myself, and I with my own thoughts trying to clear out what was old so that I can focus on what's new for the day. Then I do 15 to 20 minutes worth of reading before I jump into my emails, before I jump into anything that I have going on. Learning this stuff to be able to share information with you in a succinct way so I can become more competent in the delivery of the podcast. I have to spend time studying for you. And so I do that 15 to 20 minutes every single day. And then I write something. These stories, the understanding of the way that this stuff's crafted just for you, well, the same is true about writing for understanding the competence levels for bringing in tenants or bringing in sales or influencing other people. The more you refine your skill with clearing your mind, putting new stuff into your mind, and writing out what you already know and understand, the faster you learn it. And so that's why I have confidence in my competence, is because I have this habit, and I've been doing this habit for a long time. Now, the second thing I'm going to do after my mind and my focus are protected, okay, I'm going to look operationally. Yeah, this is where I get into the meat of what I do. I'm going to review my CRM. So for us at Red Maples, we use Tenant Turner. That is the CRM system that we use in order to automate follow-up with potential tenants and to do manual follow-up with potential tenants. But just because I review it doesn't mean I'm going to take action and do anything in it right now, okay? This is important on the way that I do this. I review the CRM for what needs to be done, okay? I don't do anything with it. I just review what needs to be done. Then I jump into my property management software. We use Buildium for that. In Buildium, it's going to tell me all of my applications that I have outstanding, what's going on, where they're at in the process. I review them. I don't do anything with it. I just know where I'm at mentally and get a good, clear picture of these things. I think that one of the major problems that a lot of people have in productivity is they don't actually know the priorities of things that needs to be done. If you want to be excellent at something, right? There's an infinite number of things that you can do. You can work on, you can put effort into. I'm telling you right now, if you can learn to prioritize, triage your life and be able to pick out what's most important to get done, what's going to drive revenue for you right now today. Highest level activity, best use of your time is always driving revenue. And so what's going to drive revenue today? Look for it. Go find it first. Remember, I've cleared my mind. I've studied for 15 to 20 minutes. I've written out what I just learned and put it in a succinct way so I can share it with other people. Then I go in and I review these things. What are the priorities? My mind's right, my body's right, and I'm focusing on priorities. Where's that revenue? So CRM first, then my PM software. Then I'm going to go look at Trello. In Trello, I'm looking for a series of different things. I break down on a legal pad for myself every single day. I'm sure you'll see it on the screen. I break down for myself every single day the tasks, the projects, the accomplishments that I have, and the questions I have for others. Okay? So I'm searching out Trello for what are those tasks and projects that I have still on my list to do. And then lastly, I review the hot sheet daily, the hot sheet of properties that we have available, the hot sheet of products and services that I'm trying to sell or promote or pitch that day, and I review those things. So that's operationally what I look at. Then I start my day. That's how that's how somebody who has leased over 5,000 units in my lifetime personally, okay? That's how somebody who's sold probably close to $40 million in solutions for other companies, if not more. This is off the top of my head. That's how somebody who does that and does it all the time, does it over and over and over and over again with excellence, is that before I even do anything, I've prepared to do it. Then I get into the body of my work, okay? This is execution time. I start my day with a power hour from about 8 to 10. If I don't have a quick little huddle meeting or something going on that's already on the schedule, which I try to limit the amount of people who interrupt my morning and interrupt my time, I do an hour of power. I focus a dedicated hour on follow-up. I do it every day. I say, if you ever wonder, you got a text message from me, if you're one of my friends or family member, and I just saying, hey, I'm just staying up in your face. That's really honestly part of my system, and I'm following up. You should do the same thing as well. You should not only, if you run out of CRM to sell, you've got a whole cell phone. You've got a whole Facebook database. You've got a whole LinkedIn database. There are plenty of people out there, if you're trying to grow your influence, that you should be connecting with, and you should be doing it on a daily basis. Now, every single message needs to be personalized. When I do follow-up, I'm not talking about automated follow-up systems, clicking a button on an email and sending out 20,000 emails to a database list. Do we do that? Of course we do. But you know when you get that message, if it's actually from me or if I send out a mass blast, there's a major difference there. It's an hour. It's a power hour. Whether I'm calling people, texting people, or emailing people, it's a personalized follow-up from about 8 to 10 is when I try to get that power hour in. I do 15 minutes every single day of objection. Like, this is structured objection role play. If I have somebody to do it with on the team, I will absolutely practice with them. If I don't have somebody to do these things with, then I'll do it by myself. But every single day, I role play objections in my head. What are the sticking points that's going to keep people from moving forward? If I have a team member that I'm going to be meeting and leading with, I think through that conversation in the afternoon for about 15 minutes. What are the possible objections that team member is going to give me? And I have answers for that stuff before I go into those conversations. And then lastly, I'm going to check Tenant Turner and look for lead responses to have people who have responded to me from my hour of power, right? Have they engaged? If people engage with you, there is money there. You've got to understand that. The reason I do the power hour of outreach and phone calls and all that is to get people engaging and responding back to me. Look, follow me. Come in my direction. Do the things I'm leading you towards, right? But I can't lead somebody if they're not following. I know if they're following because they engage with me. And so That is the process that I go through every single morning, and that is the process on how I start my day. I know what needs to be done, I know where the priorities are, and I start that power hour of follow-up, and that's where I'm going after revenue. Once that's done, I'm going to ensure I keep the peace. Look, I'm just like you. I have an email inbox that piles up. I'm just like you. I have phone calls. I have text messages that come in that are not from my power hour or things that I'm trying to do to drive revenue. I have these things that are incoming that I have to deal with. So to keep the peace, I'll check my email. I'll respond to teammates after that. I'll respond to tenants after that need response. I'll meet with people who need my assistance, and I'll process applications in that time frame. If you've ever been on a Google Meet call with me and I'm not on camera, I'm probably processing an application for somebody. And then lastly, I'll respond to social media. I'm very active online, and I don't do it because I just love social media. I do it because that's part of my daily process. The reason you're watching this video and you're engaging with me and you're learning about my business and systems is because I'm interactive online, and I want to be interactive online for you. It's not for me. I don't go on social media because I love it. I go on social media because you ask for it. You're the one that engages with it. You're the one that likes it. And so I make sure that I spend, part of my day responding on social media, posting on social media. And then once I keep the peace, then I've got activities that keep my faith. What I mean by activities that keep my faith is things that are focused on the Red Maple's mission. This is what I do towards the end of my day to make sure that I'm hitting my personal objectives and goals, which is by the midday, I want to have had an investor appointment. I want to have met with you. I want to have had a conversation with you online. Why? Well, because I want to be able to talk about the benefits of all this hard work that I'm doing with somebody. It makes me feel good when I can tell you I just leased another property for a different investor, or our organization just raised the value $1 million of this investor's portfolio. To me, that's exciting. So I want to tell somebody about it. Remember how I told you on my little list, I write down my accomplishments? How do I remember those accomplishments? I write them down every day. I encourage you to do the same thing, and then have appointments with people where you can tell them about your accomplishments. Don't brag about yourself, but brag about your business. Brag about the great team that you work with. Brag about the thing that, the organization that you've built. You poured your heart into this thing. So that keeps my faith. It keeps me focused on the Red Maple's mission. The next thing is from 4 to 6, I do a second round of follow-up calls. Just about every single day, if I'm not recording or I don't have a meeting that's got scheduled during that time, I try to do another power hour during that time from 4 to 6. So in the morning, I make calls. In the afternoon, I make calls. And that's just the way that it goes. I've been doing this thing for years now, 15 plus years, every single day, consistently. I try not to miss a day. The only days that I don't do the power hours on the weekends, Monday through Friday, every single day, I'm following up with somebody. And then lastly, once I'm done about 6 p.m. as I'm winding down with my family or whatever, I'll do some investor outreach on Facebook. I might DM some people that I've been trying to get in contact with or that have put messages online. All these things, again, are to be responsive to you, to engage with you the way that you've asked me to. All right. So you guys understand that is the armor, and that is the rhythm that I follow every single day. So we understand kind of what competence is, and now we've been through what kind of that looks like. How do you execute competently at a high level from a business owner's perspective, leasing or a salesperson or a manager, even if you had a team of 20 people, those people need to know you. You need to connect with them. And so those power hours are critical. You do your outreach, right? Okay. So now this next segment, I call this next segment, Build It Like a Conqueror. And here's why. We've talked a lot about armor today, and I just want to tie in Ephesians 6:10-18 verse. Look, you don't have to be the same faith as me. That's totally okay. I'm not trying to shove my agenda or faith down your throat. I just have learned some things. Remember, I told you I read for 10 to 25 minutes every single day. I've learned some things and I've thought about them. I've meditated on them. I've studied them, and I've studied other books. And I've learned that a lot of success comes out of the Bible. And so there's just practical applications. If you can learn this stuff, then you can apply it to your daily life. So if you can get past the fact that I'm a Christian and you're not, that's okay. Listen for how you can apply this stuff to your life, and it will work for you just as it's worked for me. This is a fact. Look, so I want to get in these verses in Ephesians. Ephesians says this. Finally, this is Paul writing. This was the Apostle Paul. He said, finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take a stand against the devil's schemes. He goes on to say, stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one, and take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. This is Ephesians 6, verses 10 through 18. I'm going to break this down and help you understand what this even means, because it sounds very spiritualistic in nature, and it is because it comes from the Bible. But let's take it to the practical application, the belt of truth. What does that mean in the Bible verse? Well, the belt of truth, it's buckled around your waist. Back in the day, the Roman soldier's belt held the armor together. It secured the breastplate, it carried their sword, and it gave them mobility, okay? This is the belt. And so truth is foundational. Without it, everything else just falls apart. And so in your day, you have to add this to it. Remember, there's two parts to competence. There is the completing aspect that we just talked about, and then there's the excellence aspect. And so in your sales process, how well do you wear the belt of truth? Ask yourself that question. The next, the breastplate of righteousness. With this breastplate of righteousness in place, what that means is that the breastplate protects the heart and the vital organs. It's the shield from a direct attack, okay? So, righteousness isn't perfection, it's right standing and right living. It protects your heart, it motivates your integrity and your emotions. If you can think about right standing, where are you positioning yourself with people, with the relationships, with your core values? These things are this breastplate of righteousness that it talks about. If we can cover our heart from direct attacks of people because I know I'm in a right alignment, I have confidence that I'm doing the right things, then I can be 100% certain that I'm getting the proper conversion. I'm not moving somebody into a property that shouldn't be living into that property. I held them accountable to the specific standards that we have. Your competence means nothing if your character's exposed, guys. This is where consistency under pressure becomes your protection. Let's talk about the fitted feet of readiness of peace, okay? Your fitted feet with readiness that comes across from the gospel of peace. Roman soldiers wore sandals with spikes that anchored them in battle. This gave them stability and readiness to move quickly. So, peace isn't passive, it's readiness. Remember how I told you about the beginning of my day? If you want to have productive days like me, it starts with peace, but being ready. I don't sit back and have peace. I get ready for a peaceful day because I start with accuracy, okay? That's where the competence comes from. I don't have panic throughout my day. I know what drives revenue, do you? That's the most important thing. Chaos is everywhere, but leaders who operate from peace and prepared calmness and focus have an unshakable posture. Do you have an unshakable posture? Shield of faith. Take up your shield of faith. The Roman shield could extinguish a fiery arrow. It literally soaked to put out flames. They were wet, right? It was immovable, defensive, and strategic. Faith is defense against lies, doubt, and fear. And so it allows you to stand with everything that says quit. There will be attacks. You're going to get criticism. You're going to have uncertainty. You're going to have people say things to you. You're going to have people try to manipulate you, control you, deceive you. You're going to have attacks, but you got to have this shield in place. Then the helmet of salvation. This protects your mind, your vision, and your decision making. Salvation isn't just heaven, okay? When we talk about this, we're talking about an eternal identity, who you are forever. And so this helmet, right? This helmet of salvation, it protects your thought life forever and your confidence. Who are you forever protects your confidence. And so, again, I go back to this. These are things that tie into your direct core values. Now, watch how this works, okay? Because it's so critical that we do this last step. The sword of the Spirit, or the Word of God. Watch how this works. The sword of the Spirit. Practically, this is the only offensive weapon that I'm talking about in your armor, okay? It's the only one. And the sword is used both to attack and defend. So if I had to ask you what's more important, defense or offense, whenever you're selling, I think you know the answer. The Word of God cuts through deception, noise, and confusion. It doesn't just protect, it advances you. So understanding the Bible, the words in the Bible, I'm not teaching you this so that you convert to my religion. I'm teaching you this so that you understand that there are words in that Bible that, when said properly, they help you advance in relationships. If you have struggles, or somebody's not taking action, or they're not moving, you got to learn the words that are in that book, and they help move people along. That's how I've done this with competence for years. If I can just say the right words, then I can move with authority. And if you want to move with authority like a conqueror, you got to learn the words of a conqueror. And those are what's written in the Bible. I mean, I don't know what's more powerful than a man who marches around a city 7 times and the walls fall down and he takes over the entire city with just his words. No sword needed, no gun, no slingshot, no arrow, no nothing, just his word. And it wasn't on his word that he did it. It was on the Word of God. And so that word comes with authority. So learn the words, and guess what happens? Now you have the sword of the Spirit. And so if you have the belt of truth, you have a core identity. The breastplate protects your heart. The footwear, well, this protects your mobility. The shield of faith, that's your whole body. Your helmet, that's your mind. And the sword, this is your offensive truth. Okay? You have these 6 things in place, and now you have the checklist that I gave you, which is what you got to complete, and then you have excellence on the other side of your execution. And you do those 2 things, and you'll lease like a conqueror. So, just a quick audit, and we'll close with this. What part of your leasing armor is the weakest? What do you think? Are you consistently following up? Do you train daily to get sharper? Are your systems protecting your energy? Are you competent, or are you coasting? See, the enemy of influence isn't your competition. It's your incompetence. The enemy of your influence isn't competition. It's your incompetence. I had to learn this the hard way. I was the person who thought I knew what I was doing before I actually did. Don't be that person. Don't allow your ego to inflate your lack of influence. All it does is cause destruction. And every conqueror knows you don't gain authority by just showing up. You gain authority by showing up competent.